So yeah, this is going to be part of, as I've said before, BitDice, where I'm looking at Roll20, my own programs, and anybody else's for that matter that's to do with fantasy gaming. What I'm going to do now is just demonstrate really basic stuff on Roll20 related to character and token setup. It is very basic, but if you don't know it, there's a lot of room for error and you can go completely wrong on it, as I have done on a few occasions. It's also nice as a refresher sometimes, and nice as a refresher for me too. So without any further ado, adding monsters into Roll20 these days is really easy. So I've got a very basic account set up here. I do actually have a pro account, but just as I know that most people don't have that, I'm just going to demonstrate with this new test account that I've made. So if I click on I, we get the SRD. Now everyone has access to this if you're setting up a 5e game. We're going to put in, as I did do previously, a Goblin character. So we drag this Goblin and chuck it right into the world here. We get the character sheet opened up. And it's an NPC style character sheet, which is great. We can make the attacks and so on. Wonderful. So that's a scimitar there. And what we want to do is take this off. Now what we actually have here is a blank token somewhere that it was used to create that character. If we can't find it, it doesn't matter. It's a bit like a needle in a haystack. Can't find it, no worries. But if we go into the character sheet, we can see we have my pre-existing Uncle Bob character we'll come to in a little while. We've also got our lovely little Goblin here that we just dragged in from the SRD. He's automatically been created. So what we want to do now is just to find a Goblin token. Let's see. There we go. Devin Knight, I believe, has some wonderful freebies here. So we'll throw this Goblin in, which is one I've used before. And here's a little something, as you might be aware, the tokens snap to the grid when you resize it. So we can't get it to that size just with the mouse as it is. It snaps back up. If we hold down Alt, as I am holding down the Alt key, you can't see me, but I am doing it, and then let go. Then lo and behold, we've managed to make this small character smaller than the grid. And the grid is typically, and by its default, set to be 5 feet by 5 feet. So I'd say that's about the right size for a little Goblin fella. I just moved it then, and again, if you want to move it in a more minute way, then you hold down Alt and you can get it into the center of the square. This goes for whether or not you're a GM or a player or whatever. Now the problem we do have is that this Goblin is a token and this Goblin here are not linked whatsoever. They know nothing of each other. So what we want to do is double click. Just a basic double click will get us into the token setup screen. We want to find the Goblin on the represent character, and lo and behold, it's been set up now. We're not going to save changes just yet. What we're going to do is set up these bars here, which are the bits overhead of the token that can be used to easily view commonly used things like HP and AC. And if you watch most people, they tend to use the basic gist of green is for health, blue is for AC, and red is for speed. Don't know why people follow that pattern, because you can just set it to be whatever you want. You could have someone's charisma set to be the red if you wanted, but you've only got those 3 to play with, so it makes sense to use them wisely. So we'll find the HP further down. You can actually type in here to quickly get to the very first item there. And we'll see that HP actually, when you drag things over from the I tab, for whatever reason, the actual health points aren't being set. So we'll set this to be 7. Just so it's 7 out of 7 rather than nothing out of 7. Makes sense. The AC, we don't need to worry about an out of number there, because it has really no max. It's just a single value. And again, with speed, I think actually what you will find is that a lot of these characters seem to be set up by default that some of the scores, like speed, which would be set up for a player, aren't set up. So you have to use ones like NPCD_speed. There's also NPC speed as well. In fact, we may have to use that one. Or maybe just plain old speed will work. Okay, for whatever reason, it's not been set up on this. Perhaps I'm going wrong somewhere. So we'll just set speed to 13. Actually, this will have a knock-on effect of applying it to the character, because remember, we're working with the token here. So we've got to realize that there's a differentiation here between tokens and characters, even though they are linked. I'll just click show nameplate, save that, and lo and behold, the goblin is now linked to the character, but actually the character isn't linked to the goblin. So if we try and drag on a goblin now, we don't get the token, which is a bit naff. So let's set that up. Every time you make a change to the token, you're going to have to reapply what I'm about to do now. So we open the character, we go to edit, and we'll see that the default token is blank white square, which is pretty useless. So we'll remove that, and with that guy selected, you selected token, and hey presto, save, drag this guy on again, and this time we've got the goblin. Now, one common issue here, oh, incidentally, we found our goblin from before back, the one that was a white square when we dragged him on, which is great. Now, one problem we have got here is we've got 3 separate goblins. One gets hit in combat. We just want that one goblin to take the hit point loss. We do a -3 here, and oops, accidentally these other 2 goblins have also taken the damage. That ain't good. So that's caused by the fact that the token is set up to be linked to the HP. So once you've got the values by selecting, say, HP, and it pings up 7 to save you the trouble of looking it up, at that point what you want to do on the token is to set HP to none. Now, it probably makes sense to also do this to AC and speed as well, but they're less likely to change. But say, for example, Goblin speed gets reduced by a rare frost or so on. The next time you go to create a Goblin, it's gonna have this, the speed reduced already. So you don't want that being applied to the character, and you don't want it being applied to all the other goblins who may be on the battlefield at the same time. So we'll set them all to none. And again, there's probably things which can affect AC too. Last thing, actually, what we probably want to do is get HP back in there so that we can correct this 4, because this is applied to the character. Once we've done that, clicked off the box, that HP is now stored in the character. But now we want to unlink it by selecting none, save, and now this goblin has the correct token. If we continue to modify this one to say not 1 hit point of this guy, you'll see that the other one, this guy here, is still taking the damage. It's because these 2 tokens are essentially tainted. So unless you want to recreate the exact same method we just used on this token, we may as well just delete these guys now. And what we want to do, in fact, by the way, if you hold down Shift and double click on a token, it brings up the character rather than the token view. Very handy. But we want to edit. With that token selected, we want to remove the old one, which is still has the old values on. It hasn't been updated to unlink the HP and so on. Get rid of that. And now with this one selected, which is correct, select it. Anytime you make a change to a token, whether it's its size, shape, any of its values built into the token, you're going to want to remove and re-add it, because otherwise the next time you come to use it, it's still going to have the old values in, and you're going to wonder why. You're going to think, hang on a minute, I'm sure I changed this and fixed it. Happened to me a few times. I've realized now I've got to keep on top of removing and re-adding the tokens once any changes have taken place. So we go saved, and now if we try it, check on a bunch of goblins. There we go. And now this one gets hit by something that causes 2 points of damage. It's only being applied to this guy. These other guys can have their damage applied independently. Fantastic. Okay, so one other thing. Let's say we have an NPC, Uncle Bob here, for example. He's not got anything set on his token because maybe he's just a background character. Maybe he just showed all this wonderful information. You know, that took hours to write in. Just showed that to the players. Maybe used it as a reference point. All of a sudden, Uncle Bob's cafe, his bar gets attacked. All of a sudden, Uncle Bob's in the middle of combat. How does he attack? What's his AC and so on? Well, there's SRD information for different characters. Let's say we want to give Uncle Bob the stats of a noble. You know, let's say we know that Uncle Bob's got a rapier up behind his bar. He wants to grab that and get into the combat. Then what we can do is very quickly, without having to fill in an entire character, all this information for Uncle Bob, we can turn him into a proper NPC character very quickly by clicking on this cog icon. And again, this may only work with this SRD5 Roll20. I can't comment for if you've used any of the different custom templates. This, I believe, is the standard one for Roll20. So you're on your own if you're using anything else. Okay, so we click NPC. I think that's non-reversible, by the way, so make sure you don't do that on a player character. And at that point, we can find, hopefully, Noble somewhere. Okay, so we know that Noble's got all these stats. It's got a rapier, it's got a certain speed, certain intelligence and wisdom and so on, and we think, you know, Uncle Bob needs some of this, but perhaps we need to change some of it. Well, we can drag in Noble into Uncle Bob's sheet, and lo and behold, it essentially makes him the Noble, and his attacks will take place as such when we click it within that character sheet. You can obviously even make changes, so we can turn it so that he is Uncle Bob. If we want to make any stat changes, maybe we want Uncle Bob to have a high strength and so on, we can do that separately. But the point is we're saving some time, not having to enter everything into the sheet. So there we go. And obviously the same thing applies to the Goblin. You might want to set his HP and so on. Okay, so we're going to do what we should have done the first time, and once we've set that HP, we know that the Noble's got 9 HP. Now we've set that, now we unset it so that if, let's say for example, we have more than one Uncle Bob, then let's say he's got a twin, then it's not going to be applied to that. But to be honest, there is an argument to say that if it is an individual character, you may as well link it to the HP. That way, if Uncle Bob's on a new map and he has half his hit points, and let's say he walks into the forest, that's the next scene, then when we drag the token on, there's a continuation, and it's going to have the lost hit points within that character because it's been saved to the character. If you're using a new instance every time, he's going to be max HP whenever he comes on. So yeah, so we could set that back. We'll leave that as it is, a little bit incomplete. But yeah, that's the gist. Obviously I've run through this twice tonight, a little bit annoying. But this is just really basic stuff, but if you go wrong with it, there's nothing worse than having seen those HP bars go down on multiple characters at once within a game and remembering that you forgot to unset the HP on the character. Done that a few times, even though I've been aware of it for quite some time. And yeah, in the future hopefully we'll do more things on stuff like maps, and the more advanced stuff I guess would be on macros and how they work, because a lot of people will not touch those with a barge pole. But again, it all comes down to just using the characters, using these entities, the fact that these attributes and abilities here can be referenced in any macro, added on, displayed, for example. Makes it very easy to do such things as like a button that you can just press it and it will do a party initiative or party passive perception, passive insight, and hide it from the players, for example, with the insight, deception and so on. So you can do all that without interrupting the game and without having to always open character sheets. So yeah, macros can be incredibly helpful for that reason. So yeah, I hope to cover some of them, and yeah, I hope this wasn't too basic for you, and I hope at least you find something useful out of it. If not, maybe it was just a reminder on a couple of things you already knew. But thanks for watching.